Hello, hello.
How are you, Linda?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
It is so dark and dreary today. Crazy.
Oh, I know. Yep.
I had
Just
like
one of
lights
those.
on inside at noontime. Like, that is not good.
Oh, yeah.
And then 90-degree and 100% humidity this weekend, right?
Right. Yeah, total change up. Hmm.
Are you going to be driving today, or is Brian?
I spoke to Brian earlier. I have my slides. I haven't seen anything from him. He said he was trying to put some together about CMAR. So we may dual drive. Since I said, if you have them done, but send them my way. Otherwise, we can take turns sharing the screen. I think his agenda items before the design update. So
yeah,
I'll
I
let
have a
him
couple of
drive
housekeeping
first.
stuff. Yeah.
Great.
So co-driving is that like a tandem bicycle?
Yeah, right.
I'm a little bit worried that we might not make a quorum tonight.
I had that same concern. That's actually why I called Brian earlier. I saw a couple emails of prom and other events and said,
Yeah, we're missing 4 people so far. So
oh, wow.
4 people that I know will not be here. So hopefully the rest will.
Okay.
Sue, I just called that, didn't I?
You did.
How many do we need to have for quorum?
7.
7.
Yeah. Because we have 13 altogether and you have to have more than 50%.
Okay.
Diane's the math person. She
I
should
know.
have known that.
I'm so tired. My brain's not working anymore today. But I know that I'm sure, hopefully Carl didn't mention to me that he wouldn't be here. And I saw him today, so I assume he will be. That would make a 5th. And I don't know about Patrick Keefe or Jerry Visconti.
Patrick Keefe said he will not. I have
Okay.
not heard a no from Jerry Visconti. We have Nick, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
We have 4.
Ah,
Five.
5.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
We're
It's so
getting
confusing
there.
when the screens keep moving around. So I'm
They
like,
switch.
yeah, I don't know why it does that. I have a few select items I'd like to change in the software world of online meetings, if I could. I don't know, we might have to start enlisting the texting tree to shake some branches and see.
I just shook 3 branches. Let's see if any of them respond.
So Linda, you said that 4 people already said that they could not make it, right?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
It's nice to see you prom. So Jen and John Perella are both at that. And then Rich Viscay said he couldn't make it. And I guess Patrick Keefe is the 4th.
correct, yeah.
If the mayor's away, I think that's 5. Carl's on his way in.
Oh, there's Carl. We're getting there.
One more. Looking for one more.
And then I had to leave at 6:30, which, well, let's end by 6:30. So we'll have
I
a
like
quorum
that plan.
going.
Should be able to do that.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
so
we
we're
can
in for
be
one of
as-
those meetings.
Yeah, we can be as brief as you need to. I mean, honestly, you need to vote on invoices, right? And then everything I have is for information only. There's no, nothing
Okay.
really needs to be decided. If you don't have enough to decide, we can just keep
Right.
doing what we're doing and leave options on the table, and that's,
Yep.
so we'll
I
be
just want to
okay.
make sure we have a quorum to adjourn, so
Yep.
True. Yep.
if we have a quorum to start.
I was gonna say, if we ever actually get there.
Or- We just need one more.
Oh, boy. I don't know, James, what you're doing, but you're on here 3 times.
That doesn't count, James. Doesn't get us to a quorum.
Good try, though, good try.
He wants his presence to be known.
There's a bunch of names you guys may not recognize, but it's our team. So Emily,
Okay.
Nazra, Nell, Joe, Jessica, they're all on our
Good.
Perkins Eastman
Good.
team. So
What about
Great.
Mark
Where did
Noonan?
all this attention come from?
I don't
I
know
know.
Mark. Yeah,
Oh, you don't know Mark?
no, but
What about
everyone else.
Emily? Is
Emily's
Emily-
on our team. Yep.
Okay,
So they're kind of just listening because, they're the workhorses behind us. So they're here just to listen and observe and be part of the process. So I'm glad to see them all here.
Mhm.
excellent.
But I figured I'd point them out since you guys are probably wondering who they all are.
No,
So
that's
we
good
had
to know.
Yeah.
I thought we had an
Nazra-
audience.
Nazra and Joe have definitely been here a lot. Joe's the PIC and Nazra did the fly through. So, but Emily and Jessica, and Nell also all on our team.
Well, nice to have you guys on here. All we need is one
I know.
more.
I texted
else?
John Charamella and Jerry Visconti, but I haven't heard back from either of them.
Maybe they're at the prom.
I was gonna say, would Visconti be? I'm not sure how old his daughter is. I'm not sure how old his daughter, no, but I'm not sure how old his daughter is.
She's in 8th grade. His
Oh, okay.
oldest.
Yeah, because if the mayor is out, then there are only hopes.
Jerry and Dawn. I saw the screen move. I thought somebody was coming.
Me too. I think it was one
It
of,
was
one
just
of the
James
James.
logging off
Yeah.
of his 3
One
accounts.
of James' clones, yeah.
Yeah. James,
James, let me know.
We're all getting excited that somebody else is
We're like,
joining.
oh, someone's here.
If James knows how to clone himself, give me a call, James.
Yep.
I get the feeling that he has some sort of connectivity issue because it's not,
Probably.
he's not showing up as normal with the
Maybe he's-
controls.
Computer, phone, iPad, who knows? Maybe he's got all of them going tonight. That's Bob Bell. Don't get too excited. Not that we don't love Bob Bell, but he doesn't make it for him.
That's just Bob.
What'd you say?
Sorry, Bob, it's just Bob, you don't count, but I
Bob.
still like you.
He's joining, like,
happened?
what's going on? They're waiting for one more to join for a quorum, Bob. So everyone's like anxiously, every time the screen changes, everyone's like hopeful, and you joined. And
Oh,
I could tell it was you. I said, oh, it's just Bob. Don't get excited.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's Bob. It's senior prom plus another event in town. So there's concern we may not have a quorum. So we're kind of anxiously awaiting one more.
Paul said he believes that Dawn is tied up, so I just nudged Jerry again and said, you're our
Jerry's-
only hope.
Jerry's the only hope.
And that's really sad. He'd be the last one I'd be dependent on.
Come on, Jerry, you don't even need your camera. You can just call in if you want to.
Yeah.
I guess just quick discussion, if we can't get a quorum, Linda, do we think we'd try to do, try to see if we could repeat this next week, or, you know, so we can keep the invoices moving, or, what do you think?
Yeah, that's really, sadly, that's my biggest concern, just making them through here and then going through the school committee as well. I think next Thursday is the 26th, which is Thursday evening before the long weekend. So I don't know if people are traveling or getting ready to travel, and
Is that the sports awards next Thursday? I forget.
National Honors.
National honors. Oh, and the sports awards at 6.
Yeah,
ooh,
The
that sounds
RHS
risky.
sports. Yeah.
Our next scheduled meeting was June 2nd, right?
Yes.
Hey, look at that.
Jerry, there he
Yay.
is.
Thank you, Jerry.
Remind me not to talk bad about him again.
Wait, did we just lose him?
Nope. Oh, wait,
Oh,
wait,
there he is.
there he is. No, he was there. I saw him. There he is.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
No
fine.
worries. We're just glad you're here.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jerry, you saved the day, quite literally.
Okay,
Jerry,
we ready?
Jerry, I was on with little faith.
say that again.
I had little faith of you joining in.
You know, Stacy, you've had little faith from the get-go.
All right, enough of the
And
pleasant.
I haven't been able to change that. If I haven't been able to change that yet, I'm never.
Okay, enough of the
Hey.
pleasantries. Let's start the meeting. How's that
Wait a
sound? Are we recording? Oh, all of this is recording, all our pleasantries. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Yes, go right ahead,
Okay.
Susan.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Revere High School Building Committee, meeting number 34. Today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and the time is 5:43 p.m. Linda, if you could do the roll call, please.
I will happily do the roll call for Mike Bacardi,
Present.
Mayor Arrigo is absent. Stacy Rizzo,
Here.
Susan Gravellisi,
Here.
Dr. Kelly,
Here.
Carl Svensson.
Here.
And we have John Perrella, Jennifer Hayes, and Rich Viscay, all noted as absent. Don Ciaramella, absent. Nick Rystrom,
Here.
Jerry Visconti.
Here,
Excellent.
here,
Thank you.
Stacy.
And we have Patrick Keefe noted as absent. So I will do the housekeeping quickly while we have all the people on the line. So first off, we are looking to get an approval on meeting minutes from our last meeting, which is the April 28th meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Whatever.
Excellent, thank you. Second by Susan. And I will do a roll call for approval. Mike Picardi
Yes.
and Stacy,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Dr. Kelly,
Yes.
Carl Svensson,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
and Jerry Visconti.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have for a vote to move forward with processing the actually April invoices. I'm losing my mind on what month we're in. April invoices we'll start with Left Field's invoice, which is, it was part of the minutes and package I sent out earlier for review. It is for the month of April, invoice number 18 in the amount of $18,000.
Motion to approve.
Oh,
All right, I'll give that one to Stacy. And
Second.
Susan will second. Perfect, thank you. And I will do yet again another roll call for approval of Left Field's invoice. Mike Picardi,
Yes.
Stacy Rizzo,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Dr. Kelly,
yes.
Carl Svensson,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
and Jerry Visconti.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll run through these super quick. I'm talking as fast as I can, Susan. Next up, we have Perkins Eastman's April invoice number 14 in the amount of $72,054. Do we have a motion to approve to move forward for processing?
Motion to
Motion
approve.
to approve.
Second.
Motion and second by Mike Picardi. Thank you. And we will do.
You
a
can do
roll call.
motion, you can do the motion from Jerry Visconti. I think he said it before me.
It doesn't matter to me.
Duly noted. I am noting the motion by Jerry Visconti, second by Mike Picardi. All right, and we will do a roll call for this motion. Mike Picardi
Yes.
and Stacy Rizzo,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Dr. Kelly,
Yes.
Carl Svensson,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
and Jerry Visconti.
Where am I? Yes.
I hope you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That is all I had for housekeeping items. So we will move over to Brian for a CM at risk procurement update.
Sounds good. Just quick verbal update on the getting a contractor, and then Dawn's going to be bringing you guys through a bit of a design update. So as we noted at the last meeting, we have 5 qualified CM firms that are working on proposals right now. Those firms are Consigli, Gilbane, Skanska, Turner, and Suffolk. The proposals are due into Mike Picardi's office on Monday at 2 o'clock. We'll be diving into analysis of those proposals and have some meetings set up with the selection subcommittee, both next week and the following week. We'll be doing interviews on June 1st and 2nd of all 5 of the firms. And good chances that on June 2nd, we also have a building committee meeting that night. So there is a chance that we will have a recommendation for a selection that night. I'm going to put it on the agenda as a potential vote for that meeting on the 2nd. If we need more time, if the selection committee needs more time to decide, we'll just give you an update and sort of ignore it. But I'm just letting you know that there will be a agenda item plug on the June 2nd meeting for confirmation of the CM selection subcommittee's choosing of the contractor here. And if all that goes forward, the following week, we'll be issuing a notice to proceed and getting that contract executed. And the following meeting, we'll probably have an agenda item to have that team introduce themselves and run through an abbreviated version of their interview, which we think is a good way to for you guys to get to know them a little bit. We'll watch their interviews. We'll ask them to trim stuff out to keep it brief and bring them to the meeting later next month. Any questions or comments on the CM process and the 5 firms?
I had a question.
Okay. Sure.
Now, does the contract automatically go to the lowest bidder, or
Nope.
is that how? No, okay.
Totally qualifications-based selection. That's one of the main benefits of CMR as opposed to a design bid build, a traditional low bid. So the selection subcommittee, this is a written out process that we're going to follow with them that's defined in the law. We're going to go through their proposals, do their interviews, rank them without looking at the financial info that they put in. We'll then open the financial info, go through that. Maybe that shakes up the ranking a bit, but what really drives this is qualifications-based process. Which team do we think is showing up with the most amount of homework that's ready to go on this? So it does not have to be the low bid. The cost will vary a bit from contract to contract.
Are any of these contractors union?
All of them work with unions and are signatory to various unions. So I think that's going to be a topic of discussion when we get them on board. Certainly something we're talking with the city of the extent to which there might be requirements for unions, but I can assure you that all of these companies work well with all of the unions, and typically there's less union issues with CM at risk projects because most of them bring on unions. It will be a mix. We'll get into the details of that. There will ultimately be some non-union contractors, but everyone is on prevailing wage. So financially, the grounds are pretty level. But all of them are adept at union issues and making sure there's union representation.
Okay, good. That's what I like to hear.
Brian, I had a question. I know that one of the finalists had a pretty significant accident recently. And I'm wondering, or I guess, and I don't know if I should be doing this, but I'm wondering if the interview committee could be sure to ask about that and what measures they've taken to prevent that in the future as part of the interview process.
Yep. Understood. And they submit a lot of info, but we are by law not limited to the info that they give us. We can call our own references. We can talk about other projects. We can talk about other local experience with these firms. Everything's on the table. So yes, any of these folks that have been in the news recently with some not positive news, I think it's definitely something that's going to come into play for discussion.
And maybe just out of fairness, it's a fair question to ask all of the candidates if what their history is in that regard. Although that might be included in their packet, I don't know.
Some of it is. They don't always show all their cards, but we can if we know those cards exist, we can call them out.
And Isn't that public information though? Can't that information be found if you?
Yeah.
Looked into each company? I believe there's some kind of record that's public.
Correct. And a lot of the, I mean, they have to give us safety ratings and current lawsuits, but if something's brand spanking new, it might not be in the paperwork yet. So that's usually what we try to do is most of the projects that they submit and give references for and reference are projects that are done and closed out. We like to call our cohorts in the industry and talk to Perkins Eastman, other people. What are they doing now and how are they doing now on jobs that haven't been reviewed yet, haven't been scored yet, aren't closed. So we always like to reach out to get that sort of what's happening right now with this team and these people. And we'll certainly be doing it. We are doing that already with the 5 since we know who they are.
Thank you, Brian. Next on our agenda, is Dawn, you're up. Do you want to?
All right, I can take over and I'll be as brief as possible. I know that Susan mentioned she needs to be off at 6:30, so I will be concise. And I just want to recognize, I said it earlier as we were waiting for folks to join, handful of our team members are on tonight and listening. They've been, they're the workforce behind my team. And so I'm appreciative of all the work they've done. So a lot of what I'm presenting is because of them. So I just want to acknowledge that they're awesome. And we have a really good team with us. So I'm going to give a schematic design update. I'm going to back up a little bit and walk through some behind the scenes things that we've been doing. So ever since we came out of feasibility, we've been sort of massaging and working with the plan. And I've alluded to things as we've brought you guys along in the process, but thought it might make sense to kind of walk you through some of the major changes we've done. So this is just the end of feasibility colored plan that we left off with. The next handful are diagrams, but we just want to show you some of the things that we've been studying and why, just so you know kind of where we've been, what we've been looking at. We don't always present everything, but it's helpful sometimes to understand our process. So with that, this is basically the feasibility plan. We had an orthogonal auditorium, music, gym, and then this is like ROTC and health classrooms, the green here. We had a pretty deep heart of the school and great connectivity at the academic wings. A lot of what we've been looking at is the north side of the building. I think everyone's been fairly happy with the academic wings and how they relate to each other and how they sit on the site and how they're prominent from a visual standpoint. From that, we thought, wouldn't it be nice to rotate the auditorium? I think we've talked about this. We looked at it, we studied it. And then we adjusted some of the gymnasium. This all had to do with some site constraints. Like since feasibility, we've been learning more and more about the Wonderland site. And as we learn more, it sort of affects the plan and what space we're working with. So some of this has to do with the site information we were receiving along the way. Some of it has to do with design and just evolution of design. We wanted to rotate the auditorium, make it a little more prominent. We flipped it with the music. The gym stayed orthogonal, and then we kind of, because of the site constraints and not wanting to squeeze the courtyard too much, this was an option we looked at. There were some downsides, the compromising. This created like a long, deep drop off at the entry. We got kind of tight to the edge of the property line, but it still kept a nice wide courtyard. So some pluses and minuses. From there, we looked at, could we like splay the gym as well? Like, but that came with its own compromises as far as like a gym needs to be a rectangular size. Could we, square that off, but still have the exterior read? It felt like we were jumping through hoops there. And there was a little bit of rotation in the heart of the school too, I should mention. So that didn't quite feel right either. So we came back to the orthogonal gym, the auditorium and music, we flipped back, and that kind of gave a nice stepping scaled entry. But what that did was elongated the heart of the school and made this connection really long and narrow. And then it had to offset the academic wing. So we felt like that was maybe too much of a compromise. And from there, we learned that we actually were going to take the whole site and that we were less squeezed with getting the fields in, the playing fields. So that gave us a little more flexibility. So That brought us to here. We were able to relieve some of that squeezing of the gym and still have kind of the stepping. The auditorium's a big volume, so stepping it down with like a 1+ story music room felt like a little more human of a approach, but it still got kind of deep. So we kind of went back. You can see that this is an evolution, and we're really just sharing because it's helpful sometimes to know how we get to where we are. And then lastly, this is kind of where we ended up. We felt like the music being up front and the auditorium as a bigger volume being behind, this opened up the entry in a way that we were really happy with and wasn't quite this dark, deep entryway. And then we were able to square these spaces off at the gym and provide a little relief with the auditorium now that we weren't squeezed by the playing fields because of what's happening on the site. So with that, that's kind of where we land. We're pretty happy with this from a volume standpoint, from a connectivity standpoint, where the programs ended up. Still a few things to massage and work out, but in general, this felt like it left the heart of the school in a great place from a volume standpoint and a depth to length ratio. We were able to make the connectivity that we liked with the academic wings. They weren't too splayed and disconnected, but that they, you know, have the heart of the school connection. It became smoother. These are the junior ROTC and health classrooms I spoke about, with the locker room still at the lower level. And then this is that 1+ story, and you'll see a rendering of this later to understand what the volume actually feels like and how it kind of gives a nice scale when you enter, you know, and come into this quite large building. Admin remains right near the front. Above, you can see this is roof below display. So that curve only happens at the lowest level with that 1+ story spaces of the music lab. And then upstairs is still pretty orthogonal. We have a nice connection with both the gymnasium and the balcony of the auditorium back to the heart of the school with strategic openings that will really create that dynamic space that we keep talking about. In no way were we willing to compromise that space in any of these studies. So I think we were able to accomplish that. And then at the 3rd floor, we've got the media commons sort of spread around the heart of the school at either end. And that will give us the ability to sort of make different types of spaces for students to, whether they read quietly in the corner or whether they're on media platforms and doing research, there'll be a variety of spaces. And we can walk through those more as they evolve. But then art and tech is above the entryway. And then the uppermost floor really hasn't changed substantially. It's mostly classrooms and special ed science with guidance up there as well. And the parking remains, it's 320-ish, and we've got it both under the academics, and this is all earth. So it's bermed in on these sides with access points from the west, as we've continued to have. We're still working on the vestibule entry and how one comes up securely. So that's still in the works, but we wanted to get the big pieces nailed down and then work on the details as it evolves. So with that, I'll pause because I just threw a ton of information at you, but it was basically background of studying up the plan to end up where we are. We're pretty happy with the size and scale of the entry. And I don't know if anyone has any questions. If not, I can move on to finishes and talk about, as Brian was talking, I thought to myself, we need to get the exterior working group pulled together. I know we talked about it, and I forget who was leading that effort. To be honest with you, Dan might remember. He wrote it down, and we need to get a meeting, because I think between now and the next SBC meeting, we want to be able to, we're going to fully clad the entire volume of the building. And we'd love to have a little bit of direction and or feedback on what I'm showing tonight. So tonight's really just for information only. You can see where we are, see what we're proposing. We have additional ideas to build on it, and would love to hear from the exterior working group.
Was that led by Susan?
I was just going to
Sounds
say, I think
right.
that, yeah.
I didn't
was
want
gonna
to put
say-
her on the spot.
No, that's okay.
think
If you
so.
remember, DK, a while ago back, I asked you, because I wasn't sure when you sent out the draft. I think I just like saved that, and I didn't have like the correct version. We're in the middle of a meeting and I thought it was me, but I wasn't sure. So Dawn, maybe we can connect on that and,
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe you, Dan, and I can meet or
Okay.
send a few emails back and forth and,
Yeah.
and pick a time. Dan's been doing this, the spearheading of these working groups, the site, sustainability, et cetera. So he's been setting those up. The
Okay.
three of us can coordinate on availability and time and who, from this group and or other people you may want to involve in that working
Okay.
group so that we can have like a live, Q&A back and forth, get to, essential questions answered and ability to move one option, two options, multiple options forward for the full committee by the next meeting.
okay.
So maybe
that
if you have
sounds
time
good.
next week or early the following, that would be enough time for us to pull it together for 3 weeks. from
Okay.
now.
Yeah, we
Great.
can just connect on email tomorrow
Perfect,
and
Susan.
get started on that. Thanks.
So, sounds great.
And
Thank you for
I
volunteering.
think that,
I didn't volunteer. Diane put me
Thank
on
you
it.
for
She was
Diane signing you
voluntold.
up.
FYI,
did
I
not
was not at the
volunteer.
I was
She
not
is
at the
correct.
meeting when the assignments were given. It was the one meeting I missed.
See what happens?
Out of 34 meetings, I missed one and I got assigned to something.
That's awesome.
And I think just along those lines, Linda, if she still can hear me, I'm not sure. I'll follow up with her tomorrow. Was going to send the whole committee, the list of the subcommittees.
All right, that
Oh,
would be
good.
great. Mm.
Great.
Yeah, I can publish that.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Sorry, I was having
Thank you.
a coughing attack, so I.
Dawn, one thing I wanted to
Yes.
add was,
Hey, Bob.
it's not a new working group, but the educational leadership team, which was obviously part of the visioning and programming, and as we head into another round of user group meetings, we'll want to schedule kind of just a check-in and maybe look at the plan in a finer grain and make sure, for example, the community health is exactly where it needs to be and, those types of things. So we think things are grossly located where they need to be, but there may be a few tweaks here and there, and we can explain what our assumptions are.
How soon does that need to happen, Bob?
It doesn't have to happen on any accelerated time. We'd like to do it before the user group meetings, which I think we've intentionally pushed out a little bit further. So we can be flexible.
I'm asking because we're going to have a new leadership team named for the high school probably by the middle of June. And I'm
could
thinking it might be worth, if we can wait that long, it might be worth doing that.
I think so. I'm not sure, Dawn or Dan, when we had planned. Well, obviously we don't have the user group meetings in June.
That should work.
Yeah.
If you're
Okay.
asking about
Yeah.
the submission timeframes, yes.
Yeah, so that would be good because then we can maybe even go through the process, take our time and bring the new leadership up to speed.
Yeah.
Exciting. Great. We look forward to meeting them.
Hey,
I'm just
Dawn?
gonna,
Yes.
sorry, go ahead. Was that James?
Yeah, that was James. Thanks, guys. Yeah, one of the
Hi.
three. Hopefully it's just one now. Yeah, before you leave the plans,
Mhm.
how are we treating the freshman academy? Or has that been researched further or any thoughts to that?
Yeah, so we have a number of ways to do it. The way we've charted it now is it's the lower two floors of the westmost wing.
Okay.
So that wing on the
This
first two
one.
floors.
In this one, Freshman
Yeah.
Academy right there. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be. I'm trying to remember the exact reason why. Some of it has to do knowing that biology, for example, is closely tied to the freshman academy. Those science labs face pure south, so we wanted to make sure that we got biology labs where they need to be. So it made the most sense. It also connects to the heart of school and has almost like a line of sight from the admin down to the freshmen. So it might feel a little nicer for the incoming freshman class to feel a little bit better connected. So that was our reasoning, but this is exactly why we would, want to meet with the ELT again to see if these things make sense to them.
Thank you.
And I'll just add in before Dawn moves along that at the next meeting, we'll have a little bit of an update on what's been going on with eminent domain as well. As we noted at the last meeting, the trend here is towards potentially taking the whole site. but that doesn't mean that the high school development takes up the entire site. One way or the other, there's space left over, whether that's space that the city uses, whether it's space the city doesn't take, and the existing owner hangs on to. That could be something that evolves through that eminent domain process, but that's where we're at right now with the site, and there's just a lot of balls in the air with that topic, and we're hoping that on the 2nd we'll have a few of those landed, and we can give a better update on that process.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Anything else on the plans before I move to materials and exterior? Okay, then. Let's do it. So last time I presented a ton of material options, said we'd bring forward some of our ideas. So here we are. We've got 3 potential options, and that doesn't mean any one has to be selected. We could do a hybrid. We could table it, let the exterior working group, dive into the weeds, and by then we may have even more evolution of ideas, but wanted to at least put this forward as far as we have a very large building, 4 stories and very long academic wings led us to a pattern that doesn't want to just be like stacked openings for a very long duration, right? Or like we need some relief and we need a little bit of variation to make it more interesting. Otherwise, it's just a sea of punched openings with, materials in between. So what you're looking at is the south wing of the west or the north wing of the east. Let me go back to the plan quickly. So see these science bays here, there's two of them. So we're essentially looking at a variation of one of these that has science bays with a little bit of differentiation with the prep rooms in between. And then general classrooms here on either side with multiple punched openings to bring lots of natural light in. So with that, we're essentially proposing almost like a panel system, but it's not necessarily panel in how it's built, but that, these punched openings read through with a different materiality to sort of break up some of the monotony of the elevations. And again, we've got these, and I think these will actually punch out a little bit, like be proud of the face at the science bays, and then a little bit something different with just punched openings at the prep rooms. And I need to move I can't see the far right. So this is an all brick scenario with a CMU base. So the base is 2'8" to our first windowsill, and then a proposed light red brick where there aren't window openings, and then dark red brick where there are, as well as between the science bays. So to, again, provide a little bit of relief with the coloration, and they could be a subtle change so that it doesn't feel like this, really stark change, but that it's just almost like a tone of, a lighter tone, darker tone with, and in this case, some bronze metal, both at the cap around the science bay. And I think I already mentioned the CMU base. So one scenario, lots of brick, but it is a tall building. It's an educational facility. So, it's not going to look like a single family home. Second option, phenolic. We talked quite a bit about this range screen system with the wood look. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this tone of wood. It could be more of a redwood, a cherry wood, or a walnut wood or something. But I chose sort of something in the middle range, and then a solid to offset it. So quite a bit of warmth on the outside of this from a facade standpoint. It looks more like a wood facade with these relief panels where the windows are, and a similar metal color around the science bays and at the cap at the roof edge. And here a proposed ground face CMU, a dark color. The ground face has a texture to it that I'm sorry, this is, I labeled this wrong. This is split face, sorry. Split face has a texture, which is what I'm proposing. So apologies, I'll correct that, split face. This is ground face, which is more of a smooth look. So that would be about 2'8", very durable, solid material to put at the bottom where all the snow starts to pile up in the winter. And then lastly, option 3, a different look on brick, more of a, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's escaping me, but kind of more of a stately look, or, you know, you see courthouses and things in like a lighter brick. Here we're proposing like a gray and a light gray. So again, a tonal break, a nice light building, given that it's so large and prominent, with some similar metal build outs, and then probably like a dark gray or a bronze window. And here, an iron spot brick. So it would essentially be brick. This just gives it like a nice grounded color and a sort of sheen to it, a shine that could provide a little bit of variety. So with that, I promise next time we'll have, you know, full models of these to show. But for tonight, we wanted to just give you a sense of what the massing is starting to look like. Here's that elevation that you just saw a few ways over, a version of, with the science. It actually happens twice on this elevation with general classrooms in between. This is the main entry. This is a nice scaled, and we didn't apply materials here, but I could imagine this might start to weave in some of the base, whatever it ends up being decided, or some stone with some wood, and give it a nice warm feel if that were desired. So this is that 1+ story music that we talked about that had that gentle curve in the plan, the evolution of the plan. This is the squared off art and let me go back to the plan so you can see it, art and tech. So that's kind of this facade, and you can see in the foreground this piece. So just for reference, here's that curve. It's hard to read at an angle, but this is curved and this is orthogonal. And you can see the volume of the auditorium beyond. So a nice welcoming entry, scaled with the canopy that extends out and cantilevers to, you know, to draw people in at the front entry. This is a view looking back toward the opposite side of what you just saw, towards the heart of the school from the far side of the courtyard. So sorry to flip through, but I want to give you some perspective of where I am. So if you're standing here looking toward the Caffin Commons, we have the classroom bar on the right and the health classrooms with the mass of the gym behind. So let me take you back. So this is here. So it's a couple stories of classrooms, ROTC, health. This is the general classroom wing. This is the side without science. So this relief is the stairwell that in between the classroom bars. And these are all general classrooms, and this is the heart of the school. So down here is the culinary program with the restaurant and connectivity through to the front entry. And then above it is the backside of that art and tech, which is open space to the heart of the school. So lots of visibility to that courtyard from the heart of the school. So
Hey, Dawn.
yeah.
Yeah. Before you go back to the the exterior, my question is for me, the front of the school is clearly the front of the school, and therefore if there's a front, there must be a back. But how accessible or how much, how accessible is the back? Where are the students coming and going? Is that a space that is to be fully utilized? You know what I mean? Or is that, what's your vision? Or how are people supposed to use the space in the exterior courtyard back there? How are they to access it? What are the pathways getting to it? That type of thing.
So still being determined, and you can see we just showed grass for now because our landscape architect will have a heavy hand in how this all ends up laying out. But this lies over the at-grade parking. So I'm going to flip, sorry to make you dizzy. This is the at-grade parking. There's right above this is that courtyard. So there's access by vehicle directly below it. Were you here when we did the fly through? I think Nazara took us kind of in this corner and you could see. So this is an elevated courtyard intended to be, direct access. This is that stairway that was glassy, heart of
Nice.
the school and connectivity from here. And then we would obviously have a connection point down to grade, right? But this is elevated, looking due west, and access would mostly be from the building itself, with obviously a way out to get you down to grade from the edge. Does that answer your question? Is that, so it's intended to
it
be
does.
learning, it's intended to be, built out in a way that there's nature and connectivity to whatever plants we're able to grow on an elevated courtyard. And as we talk to the users and dive deeper into how they imagine they could use it, it will certainly evolve.
Thank you. That did. Or what I'm hearing is there's definitely, when you think of the back of the school, that's where the dumpsters are, and when it's where the service entrance is. And so you don't want students to be at, I want to make sure that they're not at, where are those types of
Yep.
places? Are they back here or
They're
where are
on
the
this-
places?
Yep, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
They're here, so at the garage level, so I'm down at grade on this side, right? This side is bermed so that the front entrance is at one level and the back of the school is at the lower level. So the service dumpsters, deliveries, we've talked about this, it's going to be at the garage level. So elevated from, there'll be a retaining wall that takes you off this bus drop curve. And this all happens sort of lower. So it
Nice.
won't be visible either from the street or from the direct student access. You'd have to come over this retaining wall and look down, or come around this building, this edge of the building. But the roadway, actually, these guys will be able to back in, but the roadway to get out near the tennis courts. I don't have a site plan here. Apologies. I'm just realizing I don't have a way to explain it from a site standpoint, but the road comes down here. The trucks can back up below this level because there's a level lower that I was just on, or
Mhm.
they could come out. It's hard to explain without a site plan. I apologize. That's my fault for taking it out and not including it. It's still
No, no,
very
no.
much in the works and being modified regularly. So anyway,
Absolutely.
not here.
Thank you for
and not
explaining. Yeah, sorry
accessible.
sorry to hijack it, but I appreciate it.
No, it's
So
fine.
Thank you.
It's fine. And I think if we're able to do any sort of fly through or visual of that next time, I'll be sure to include it if that's helpful.
So Dawn, quick question with that being sort of above the parking, is there going to be is there a drop off at the end? So you would need some sort of fence or guardrail or something at the end of that?
Yeah, there'll probably be some sort of wall with some sort of protection from going off. Yep.
Okay.
But
I mean, I
it's
do
fair
think
to,
that courtyard is a great place to sort of embrace it. It's, other than it's towards the train tracks, it's probably the most
Right.
sheltered, enclosed part of the site. And we know we have roads going by. We know this is a busy spot. So I really think there's an opportunity to embrace that, sort of being a quieter, more intimate landscape element, as opposed to down near the fields or at the busy front drop off. So I think it really could end up being a nice space back there.
yeah, I was just going to comment that the classroom wings themselves are sheltering from prevailing winds. And we'll be doing solar studies about how much daylight we can get in here. But if you remember early renderings in the vision and ideas that came out of the visioning for this space are, you've got JROTC nearby for potential, outdoor marching space. You've got health and wellness, so you can have yoga and other outdoor activities. You've got the culinary arts, so raised bed gardens and terrace space out on that level, as well as just, outdoor learning classrooms and other types of spaces, so that it will not just be a platform with a wall to keep you from falling off the edge. It's going to be fully
Right.
programmed, and that buffer even to the edge where it drops off to the parking would probably be developed with combination of landscape and other things to be a really enriched space.
Right.
Is there going to be any consideration or any methods to try and limit the amount of noise from the commuter rail going back there? I'm
I
only
think we're-
asking because I used to live right next to one and it was not that, it was not that pleasant.
It's the reason why some of the programs are placed where they are. I mean, you can't get completely away from it, and we're battling, roadways and solar orientation. And so the academic rooms are pulled a bit away, but we've also been looking at, triple pane glass and other things that will help with acoustics as well as energy, to provide a buffer for inside. But when you're outside, you are outside, and the site is, does have the roadways and the railway nearby. So
There may be a way to, with some of the plantings at the edge, as you described, Bob, to buffer. I mean, noise will still come in from above, but it certainly could help. So
Right,
we'll
yeah.
keep that in mind. That's a great point, Linda.
Yeah, but it is nice, like Bob mentioned, that the classrooms are not the closest ones to that, because that's where I would imagine it would be the most impactful, hearing the noise.
I would like to say for the committee's benefit, Lynn Stapleton, she did the Thurgood Marshall. I think that's runs right parallel to train tracks, and they've made that to where when you're in the building, you don't hear anything. So construction has gotten to the point, where modern construction, that they can block out. They figured out how to block out that type of sound when you're inside the building.
I just want to remind us of the time. It's
5 minutes.
6:25.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane. We're almost there. I have one more visual, and you can start to see this is the south side where this is the bus drop, just for reference, as you come around. So the other side of this building is the entryway, and this is that wing that curves towards the east. So you can start to see the sheer size and magnitude of this building. So as we apply materials and start to think about it a little bit more, it becomes important to break up not only the linearness of it, but the height of it. So that's our design challenge. We have a few ideas to build on what we've started here. You can also see this is the south facing facade. So of course, we're going to propose solar shading and mitigation for direct sunlight and glare within the classrooms. And that'll be, as Bob mentioned, another study to actually figure out how deep they want to be, how frequent they are, but we've shown it because we recognize that this entire elevation will require it. So that was all I had for visuals, honestly. That was, we wanted to give you a sense of the facade, the massing, the plan updates, the materials that we think could look nice on the building, and then we can continue to evolve it, meet with the exterior working group, and then come forward next meeting with kind of the whole building shown with the options that come out of the exterior working group. I've left everyone speechless.
You have.
Any
It's
questions?
beautiful.
Any?
It's a big building. Every time I see it, I start counting things, and I'm like, probably looking at 400 shades right now. So I just get overwhelmed by the size of it and think about when we get to estimating here. So that's
Economy
our
of
part the
scale,
job.
Brian. Think of it as economy of scale.
Yeah. It's a lot of shades.
John, I will say, I do find the way that the music area was turned very aesthetically pleasing also.
Great. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate that.
And I think I'd like to comment, that just having it's not the right term, but the floor to ceiling for the biology labs, that was a nice breakup. And it's always nice to have those.
Little, relief. Little relief, yes.
Yeah.
John, I had one question on the material. When you showed the 3 different options, basically the color schemes.
Yep.
The second one.
Yep.
That ground face dark CMU.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if the textured material, believe it or not, I'm thinking of graffiti and removing
yep.
graffiti. And I'm wondering if that kind of textured material would impede
Yep, so
Yeah.
it doesn't impede, but they can provide, and we're doing it on our Lowell project, although there we have a ground face, and I know this says ground face because I labeled it incorrectly, it's split face. Split has a texture to it, ground is like smooth, so it's ground down. Ground is better for graffiti proofing, and they typically apply a graffiti proof coating.
Yeah.
So we can definitely include that in our description as we start to get pricing sets and describe the materiality. If you have strong concern about it, I would actually propose always doing ground and doing the smooth. So
Oh.
I don't personally think the texture is worth it if the concern about graffiti is strong enough. So
Well,
that's my
there
2
are-
cents based on my experience.
Yeah, I was going to say there are trains of thought too, where ground face isn't a good canvas for graffiti. So it becomes a deterrent in that way, but you
Yeah.
know.
So it could go either way, but we can certainly provide the coding, and then we could talk further about it, get some samples in people's hands for the exterior working group if folks have
Yep.
concerns or want to see it, feel it.
I'd say keep that in mind for anything that's anything within reach. So on these diagrams, that would include the phenolic panels too. So I think anything that's going to be, you know, under 7 feet on the ground, we should have that same discussion with.
Okay, that's great. So my brain's already churning with scenarios and options to, as you know, an evolution of these. Okay.
For the people that are going to be involved with the exterior working group, Don, I don't know if you have ideas of what's some advice you could give them on how to bring opinions in? Would it be helpful for people to snap some pictures of things that they've seen that they like a
Sure.
certain part of, or what advice could you give
Mhm.
folks that are going to participate in that, and how to get their own opinions consolidated, not being architects, industry people?
Yeah, I would say things that they like, and just as important, things they don't like. And
Yep.
that includes, you know, strong opinions about different materials and looks and understanding of scale. Like, don't snap a picture of like a tiny little commercial building. Like, this is substantial in size and scale. So we want to be sensitive to that. So I think that's all very helpful. Or, you know, if you have familiarity with any sort of material from a maintenance standpoint and have strong feelings, that's another thing you could bring to the table for discussion. And you can take these and, you know, compare them to buildings you like and don't like and come back and offer suggestions. We're open to it. Yeah.
You
Usually
were
we've-
mentioning,
we've had tours by now too. So
Yeah.
even if we can't get together, we can at least provide a list of places to see different materials.
Yeah. The outside's easy to do drive-bys. The inside starts to get more difficult.
when you were mentioning the graffiti, that made me, I went the other way of like, okay, well, we're a new school, we can put cameras, you know, wherever we need to. What's been your experience with cameras? How much are they a deterrent? You know, are we planning on having 24/7 security? You know, those are the questions that I just thought of.
Going to be a lot of
Um,
cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
so
would be a
I
lot
know
of
I'm
practice.
gonna nudge us on time again. These are all really good questions. Maybe we should write them down for the next meeting.
I was just
Um,
gonna say, because I know Susan has to leave at 6:30, and I don't know if we can we close the meeting with fewer people than 7?
I think I'd defer to Stacy on that. Do we need a quorum in order to adjourn?
We,
It would create a
we've done it
catch-22.
without a quorum before, to tell you the
Okay.
truth.
I did it this
Um,
morning in a meeting.
Turns into a sleepover for everybody.
We just stay here all day.
Well, we'll just keep talking until Susan can come back on then.
Right, exactly.
I am
Well,
here, I'm sorry.
I
It's work
was just gonna
related.
say, unless
I'm-
there's more questions, this was really the end of the content for the
Yeah.
evening. Just something to like digest, think about, start to, you know, form opinions on and provide feedback. So
Okay.
Great work, Dawn.
thank you.
Awesome.
And team,
great work.
honestly,
Thank you.
It's the team, yeah. Great.
Do we have, just to move things for Susan's sake, do we have any public comments today? If so, state name and address, please. I don't see any hands. Okay. Any new business or discussions for next week or next meeting?
I'll just ask that next meeting, we put more time to discuss these kind of exterior materials.
Perfect. All right, if there is nothing else, then do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion-
Second?
Motion to adjourn by Stacy, second by Susan. And we will do one final roll call. Mike Picardi,
Yes.
Stacy Rizzo,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Dr. Kelly,
Yes.
Carl Svensson,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
and Jerry Visconti.
Yes.
Thank you. With that, thank you everyone for the great efforts of showing up today and making sure that this meeting happened, and lots of great comments, and we look forward to continuing it at the next meeting.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night all.
Good night.
Take care.